Shalom, shalom. Go ahead, clap it up, man. All right, go ahead, clap it up. Shalom, Yahweh Shem Yahshua to all the brothers, Yahweh Shamar Alathan, Bahashim Yahushua to the sisters. I'm Priest and Officer Malak, under Commanding Junior Honor, Isupk, start out at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. We are all under Commanding General Yohana, and we are not affiliated with any other Israelite group or organization. You understand? All right. That being said, tonight is the Tuesday night Brotherhood class. So go ahead and clap it up for the Tuesday night Brotherhood class. All right. Brothers and sisters that are just joining, there is a login, a sign-in form. All right, for the brand new brothers and sisters, the young men and the young sisters who do not have a Hebrew name. All right, I'm sharing that link right now, okay? Make sure you ask your questions. Make sure you sign in. All right. Make sure you ask questions. Make sure you sign in. This is the Tuesday night Brotherhood class. And in just 2 seconds, we're going to get right into it, all right? Make sure everybody can see, everyone can hear. All right, everybody should have the attendance sign in. Okay, there we go. All right. Tonight is the Tuesday night Brotherhood class, all right? Tuesday night Brotherhood class. Brotherhood is something that all of us need to learn. It's something all of us have to master. Something that's not taught in the Christian church, Shalakia, but it's something that we all need to master, right? It's easier said than done. Brotherhood is something that's easier said than done. Everybody claims to have brotherhood, right? You have certain fraternal orders of police, right? The Fraternal Order of Police. You have certain fraternities that claim to have brotherhood. The Fraternal Order of Police claims to have brotherhood. The KKK, they say they have brotherhood. The Christians, they claim to have brotherhood. Democrats, Republicans, right? Biker clubs, biker gangs, the Crips, the Bloods. Everybody swears up and down they have brotherhood. That's something that everyone uses loosely. I love my brother, man. I love y'all. I love this. I love this. I love that. Right? That's just a term that's thrown around very loosely, okay? But in the Israelite School of UPK under Commanding Journey Hunter, we actually have mastered brotherhood. Right? We mastered it. It's something that we do so well that this is the place where you come to learn what brotherhood is. You understand? Not the FOP, not the Sigma Phi Alpha, not the Kappa Phi Alpha, not sororities, not fraternities. Did you know that in fraternities, there are brothers in fraternities that would allow evil to be upon their brother, that would suffer sin upon their brother? What do I mean? I mean this, that if you are a brother in the Omega Psi Phi fraternity, those black police officers that beat that young brother to death in Memphis, Tennessee, those were members of the Omega Psi Phi. The members of Omega Psi Phi were black men in a black fraternity, a black Greek fraternity. Let that blow your mind. And those cats, those murderers, those merciless murderers of black men, unalived a brother by beating him to death. You understand? Not by shooting him, not by stabbing him, but by beating him to a pulp until he was unresponsive. And when he was unresponsive, did any of the cops call for the paramedics to arrive? No, they did not. The Omega Psi Phi members in that Fraternal Order of Police in the Scorpion Squad in Memphis, Tennessee, unalived the fellow brother, and nothing happened. Nobody called the authorities. Nobody called for help. They just let the brother suffer until he was dead. Why do I bring that story up? Because the members of Omega Psi Phi, who was not the cops that unalived the brother, should have chastised them. Should have taught them how to be a brother to their brother. Should have taught them what real love looks like. I guess Omega Psi Phi members only have love for the people that are in their fraternity. I guess the fraternal order of police only have love for the ones in the other people, other members in the fraternal order of police. I guess Christians only have love for other Christians. I guess Muslims only have love for other Muslims, fellow Muslims. That's what it seems like, man. It seems like whatever you're a part of, you only love the fellow people, your peers, your contemporaries that do what you do, that claim what you claim, that love what you love. Well, how could you spread brotherhood to everybody? How could you love brothers and sisters when they are not in the Omega Psi Phi fraternity? So Omega Psi Phi members only love brothers that are in Omega Psi Phi. What about brothers who aren't in Omega Psi Phi? Do Omega Psi Phi black men who have pledged allegiance to the Greek black fraternity of Omega Psi Phi, do they love fellow brothers who are not in Omega Psi Phi? No, they don't. How do I know? Because that brother that was unalived by those cops who are members of the Omega Psi Phi, the brother that they unalived, he was not a member of Omega Psi Phi. Because if he had told those cops, I'm your brother, I pledged in 2013, I pledged in 2015, they would have never treated that brother like that. Ever. You understand? If there were cops that got pulled over by other cops, all they would have to say is, I'm fraternal order of police. I'm in the same brotherhood as you. And then the cops wouldn't harass that brother. The cops wouldn't harass that person. Only Christians treat people differently when they don't love what they love and worship what they worship. You understand? That is a demon of Christianity. Christians could never teach us what loving one another is, because Christians only love other Christians who belong to their religion, who belong to their church, who belong to their denomination. Christians never show brotherhood or love to individuals who are outside of their belief. How do I know? Because America, George W. Bush, George H.W. Bush was a Christian. You understand? America is a Christian country. And they drop bombs on who? Other Christian countries? No. They drop bombs on countries who do not believe in Christ, like the Arab Spring, Iraq and Afghanistan and Kuwait and Libya and Syria and Vietnam and Japan. Like, America has unalived so many different nations, none of them Christian, because Christians only love other Christians. So how could a Christian teach you about what brotherhood is and about what Christ taught when a Christian doesn't believe what Christ taught? You understand? Christians don't believe what our Savior and Lord and King Jesus Christ taught. They believe what their pastor teaches. They believe what Caesar Borgia taught, what America taught, and that is violence against people who don't believe what you believe. How do I know? The first Americans, the settlers, came to America, came to this land at that time known as, North America, right? Named after an oppressor, ironically, Amerigo Vespucci. And how did they treat the North American Indians? Did they treat them with love? Did they treat them with care and kindness? Or were they cruel to the North American Indians? Or did they create Thanksgiving, which is a holiday they celebrate in honor of the unaliving of North American Indians? Did they violate the North American Indian women? Did they march them through the Trail of Tears like Andrew Jackson and then later became the President of the United States of America? I think it's the latter, not the former. So with that being said, Christians cannot teach me how to love other black people. Christians cannot teach me how to love other Hispanics and North American Indians. Christians can't teach me how to love anyone who is not of my belief, because Christians only love individuals who believe what they believe. Christians only love people who are Christian, who are Baptists, who are Episcopalian, who are AME, African Methodist Episcopal. You understand? Christians couldn't teach us how to love each other. That can only be done by men of the Lord in the Isupk. Could an Arab teach you how to love other black people? Could Muslims teach you how to love other people that aren't Muslim? No, they can't. Muslims only love other Muslims. You understand? Muslims don't sell drugs to Muslims. Muslims sell drugs to black Christians, right? They sell drugs to black men who aren't Muslim. They love other Muslims, that's for sure. They go to prison and they look out for the safety of one another. They absolutely love black men who are Muslim. They absolutely love you when you're Muslim. But if you're a black man and you're not Muslim, then Farrakhan can't do anything for you. If you're a black man and you're not a Christian in Jamal Bryant's church, Jamal Bryant can't do anything for you. If you're a black man and not in T.D. Jakes' church, then T.D. Jakes can't do anything for you. Like when the cops come to arrest you falsely on false charges, unrighteously and unjust, and beat your brains in, T.D. Jakes won't be anywhere to be found. If you're some 16-year-old boy and you're in Kansas City and you happen to accidentally knock on your neighbor's door by mistake, you're going to get shot in the head and in the arm like Ralph Yarl, and your Christian church won't be there to defend you. Won't be there. You understand why? Because you are not what they believe, right? Ralph Yarl doesn't go to T.D. Jakes' church, so T.D. Jakes isn't defending Ralph Yarl, right? The brother who was unalived by those cops in Memphis, Tennessee, I know there's churches in Memphis, Tennessee. I know there's Baptist churches in Memphis, Tennessee. None of them protected the life of that brother. None of them helped that brother or his family. Why? Because he didn't attend those churches in Memphis, Tennessee. That's why. You're only going to receive the love and support of the brother whose church you go to. You're only going to receive the love and support of the mosque that you go to. Meanwhile, in the ISUPK, our love is extended to all blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. You understand? Even the ones who are not in the ISUPK. Even the ones who aren't One West. Our love and our help, you understand, our food program and our prison programs, our housing, our assistance, that goes to brothers and sisters who aren't even One West, who aren't in the ISUPK. You know why? Because we really believe in brotherhood. We truly believe in the love for one another. Whether or not you wear the same uniform as me, whether or not you wear the same shield as me, whether or not you believe what I believe, man. We love you because you're the children of slaves like me. You're our brother and you're our sister. Everybody understand? Shalom, sis. You understand? Yahweh Shemar L'Tabashim Yahweh Shah. All right? Salakia. With that being said, let's get into this article, man. I have an article to get into. All right, it's about Clarence Thomas. Okay, it's about Clarence Thomas. Let's get into this Clarence Thomas article. All right, this is something that happened, I believe, a week ago, 2 weeks ago. And this just amazes me, all right? Okay, this is Clarence. For anybody who doesn't know, Clarence Thomas is a Supreme Court Justice. He's been a Supreme Court Justice since the 90s. All right. In fact, let me look that up. He's been a Supreme Court Justice since 1991. So what is that? 32 years? Right? He's been a Supreme Court Justice for over 30 years, man. For about 32 years. Well, recently, in the news, this cat here, the Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, he's been in the news recently for accepting gifts, expensive gifts from a white donor, from a donor who is a member of the GOP or the Republican Party, right? Which is not illegal, but it is it's frowned upon. It's like a lack of morality. It's if you accept gifts from some cat that is who identifies with a specific party, that's going against that's a conflict of interest. That's the word. It's a conflict of interest. Because this is supposed to be Supreme Court justices are the highest court in America. If you don't know anything about, if you didn't look at, what is that show called that aired back in the 80s, man? Schoolhouse Rock. Schoolhouse Rock is a little TV show back in the 70s and 80s. And it used to have little educational clips, short educational clips to teach young children in America different things: English, writing, science, math, politics, government. And one of the things, I know older brothers and sisters remember that I'm just a bill. Yes, I'm only a bill. Right? That was a damn political clip from Schoolhouse Rock. It was teaching you the government of America, the checks and balances of America. Well, if you remember from school in history class, in American government class, in an American school, the Supreme Court is the highest court in the land, right? That's the federal court. And so the Supreme Court makes the biggest decisions, okay? He is a Supreme Court justice, which makes him the highest judge in the land. One of, is 9, right? So as a judge, someone who has to make a decision based off of morality, based off of what's right and what's wrong, not based off of a political party's interest, someone who accepts gifts in that seat, that sits in that seat, it is frowned upon for you to accept gifts from someone who is tied to a political party, because someone being a justice or judge who makes those decisions that you're supposed to make unbiasedly. Of course, Justice Clarence Thomas, he accepted these gifts, you understand, and now he's catching a lot of flack for accepting these gifts. It was even talk and speculation that he's going to get impeached. He's not getting impeached, just to help you out, okay? I'm just trying to help you out, right? He's not getting impeached, all right? But there is something that's interesting about this story, and I want to read it to you, okay? Here we go. This is Bloomberg.com. If it will load. Give me 2 seconds, all right? This is, all right, technology, Salakia. All right? This is Bloomberg.com. Harlan Crow, the billionaire tied to Clarence Thomas, wields Texas influence. So, the devil, the oppressor, the man that is the donor of Clarence Thomas, he's a billionaire. He's a rich billionaire. He inherited money from his father, right? His father's father. They were big in the real estate industry down there with Jerry Jones in Texas. Jerry Jones, who was the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, he's another racist oppressor who absolutely hates black people and is a billionaire in Texas. Well, Harlan Crow, we're going to read just who he is, but just remember what I told you about Jerry Jones and how he has ties with this Harlan Crow, and he is a cat that is a billionaire because of the real estate industry, just like Jerry Jones in the real estate industry down in Texas. All right. Let's see here. Oh, this thing ain't gonna let me read it. Let me see. Salakia. You got to be subscribed to read it on my phone. Okay, well, let me go to another article. Salakia. Bear with me. Here, Washington Post. All right, let's go to the Washington Post. Salakia, bear with me. And this thing here, none of these on the phone. Now, on the laptop, you can read it without having to subscribe. On the goddamn phone, you have to subscribe to the news article, news company in order to read it. That's insane. Okay, let's see. This is Yahoo, okay? This is about this cat, Harlan Crow, the billionaire friend / donor of Justice Clarence Thomas. Here we go. Now, this is an article that's taken from Bloomberg, which is the article I tried to read earlier. Bloomberg. Justice Clarence Thomas said he was advised he didn't have to disclose private jet flights and luxury vacations paid for by billionaire Harlan Crow because although a close friend, Crow did not have business before the court. Okay? Bloomberg reviewed dozens of state and federal cases involving companies that the Crow family has owned or had a financial stake in since Thomas's 1991 confirmation. Confirmation is when he got confirmed to be a Supreme Court justice, okay? Nearly all of these disputes played out at the trial and appellate level and didn't reach the Supreme Court. In January of 2005, though the court declined to hear an appeal from an architectural firm that wanted more than $25 million from Trammell Crow Residential Company for allegedly misusing copyrighted building designs. Okay, so let me skip down here. The Crow family had non-controlling interests. I'm trying to skip down. Salakia. Let's skip down. Although there were multiple parties and bear with me. Let's hold on. All right. Given Crow's status as a close friend and a generous benefactor, Thomas should have recused himself from cases where he knew or should have known that Crow had a direct financial interest, Hellman said. So this justice, Supreme Court Justice, Clarence Thomas, he is a Supreme Court Justice and have ruled on cases that involve the company, the realty company of Harlan Crow's company, right? And the article is saying, the journalist said he should have recused himself. I mean, he should have took himself off the case. Why? Because it is a conflict of interest, right? Legally, there are things that a judge could not judge on, or a lawyer couldn't represent, if it is a conflict of interest. That's what Donald Trump was doing and staying in his own goddamn resort. And he was the president of the United States of America. It is a conflict of interest, meaning it goes against his best interest, because then it is being biased. If my father was a judge and I murdered someone on a capital murder case, and I walked into his court and his court was the one I would be tried at, do you think that he could be the judge and preside over me? Do you think that there would be a juror of my family? There would not be. Why? Because it is a conflict of interest. Because of the familiar ties, because of the, the damn emotional ties and all of these other ties, he's my father, he couldn't be the judge over my case. He would recuse himself. An honest judge would recuse himself. Why? Because he's going to be biased towards his son. Well, listen, that was Clarence Thomas. Clarence Thomas' friend, who was also his donor, that's ironic, right? That's a coincidence. The friend / donor of Clarence Thomas had cases. His realty company had cases, and Justice Thomas would preside over them, right? Now, let's go to the Bible, right? Remember this article I just read. Okay, let's go to the Bible, brother. Salaki. Let's go to Matthew. Boy, this phone sure want to move slow today. Salaki. Okay, let's go to Matthew. Salaki. Oh, Salaki. All right, let's go to Matthew chapter 6, verse 24. Okay? Matthew chapter 6, verse 24. No man can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. Ye cannot serve the Most High and Mammon. This is what our King Christ said thousands of years ago, brother. It's written here in the Bible in red, right? Jesus Christ said this a long time ago. He said that no man can serve two masters. You cannot serve the God, you cannot serve the Most High and money, right? This is in the Bible for a reason. Justice Clarence Thomas is a Supreme Court judge, a Supreme Court justice in the highest court of America. Yet and still, he is morally corrupt. That's a word I'll use. He is a morally corrupt justice, because he allows his friends and the influence of his friend, his rich billionaire, Nazi sympathizing friend, who is his donor, he allows that. He allows the money that he gives him, the gifts, the expensive gifts, the luxury travels, the island visits, the goddamn monetary gifts, the gifts on private jets, right? He allows all of that to sway his decision making when it comes time to making a judgment on a case, right? He allows that to sway his judgment. And that is the reason why Christ said that no man can serve two masters. Now, you can take the Justice Clarence Thomas situation and you can put that on a bigger scale, a much larger scale, and put that think about the Christian church. When you think about this Clarence Thomas situation and Harlan Crow situation, think about the Christian church. The Christian church, they try to serve money. Everybody knows it. It's a common stereotype and a joke about the black Christian church in specific, where every comedian, every spoof, every show that has any little jab at the black Christian church, they always have some slick, greasy, jelly-back, pork neck, you understand, black pastor, and they always have the black Christian church as being a greedy place. A place where they just care about your money and not the lives of the people that go to the church. That's just a common joke. It's so common that people make skits about it and make shows about it. There's a show called Greenleaf about this very thing that is so popular in the black Christian church. The black Christian church only cares about money. Only cares about money. You understand? They don't care about the lives of the people in the church. They don't care about the lives of the people who don't attend their church. These are people who cannot serve God, clearly. How in the world could T.D. Jakes serve God when he's more worried about his divorced daughter and getting her a $15 million mansion? How can he be concerned about his book deals, the money that he makes from his book deals, the expensive suits he wears, and be concerned about taking care of you and your needs? How could he do that? How could he do that? He can't. He can't. The church can't. The Christian pastors can't, which is why Christ said it in the Bible. Matthew 6:24. No man can serve two masters. It is absolutely impossible, right? You cannot be Clarence Thomas. You cannot be a justice, Supreme Court justice, and accept accept money from rich billionaire donors who are Republicans and then make an unbiased judgment when it's time to rule on a case. You can't do it. Why? For either he will hate the one, either you're going to say to yourself, man, you know what? I know I'm supposed to be worried about the wealth and the welfare and the health and the well-being of my parishioners, of my constituents, but I also have to get this money, right? I know I'm supposed to be worried about the people who go to my church. I know I got to be worried about everybody that goes to my church and the people who attend my church and the people who don't attend my church. I know I'm supposed to be a father to the fatherless. I know I'm supposed to be a defense for the poor. I know I'm supposed to take care of the poor, to relieve the poor, but I got to get this money. I got to get this bag. Who in the hell are you fooling? Either you will hate the one and love the other. Brother, you're either going to hate blacks and Hispanics. You're either going to hate the people that you represent, like Clarence Thomas, right? And love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. Either you're going to love the expensive gifts given to you. Either you're going to love the tithe money that the Christian church gives to you, or you're going to hate the gifts and the expensive gifts and the tithes and love the people. You can't do both. You can't love the people that go to your church and take care of the people that go to your church and love the money they give you to where you spend it on ridiculous, expensive things like the black Christian pastors do, like the black senators and mayors and black people who are in government and hold high offices like Clarence Thomas. You can't be some politician and some pastor and some black leader and say, I love black people. I'm going to be here for black people. I'm going to take care of black people. I'm going to help black people. You can't do that and then take the money that some white Nazi sympathizer gives you, like Harlan Crow. You can't do that, man. You have to serve the people. You have to serve the Lord. Serving the Lord means to serve God's people, to love his people. You understand what I'm saying? That's how you show the Lord you love him, by loving his people, right? You can't love those people that belong to the Lord and love the money and the riches of this world. You can't do it. Clarence Thomas clearly loves the riches of this world. The pastors in the black Christian church, they clearly love the riches of this world. You understand? There's no arguing that. There's no debating that. Clearly the church loves money more than black people. Should I bring this up? Can I bring another article out? Right? Just doing more research. So the Clarence Thomas thing I just used to show you that there are black men, Salakia, black men and black women in high positions of authority. They don't care about black people, right? They absolutely hate black people. All right, let me show you this article here. Let me read this here. It's about the church. right? As a matter of fact, I believe I have it saved, right? The article I'm about to read to you is an article that displays just how much money. There was a report there was a report, Salakia, that was done about how much the church makes. I do thank the Most High. You understand, Most High in Christ. I saved it. All right, there's a report that this what do they call it? Our journalists, that these journalists had comprised they comprise these statistics, right? The demographics of Christianity, how much money they make, and where that money is going to, right? These researchers and journalists, they did this study, right? They did the research on how much money the Christian church really makes, right? And here it is. This is from the Enterprise Today. Some fascinating church revenue statistics to show the growth of this religious charitable institution, right? Church revenue statistics. Let me go down to here it is, right here. Ooh-wee, brother. Okay. U.S. faith-based institutions, which is the Christian church for everyone who doesn't know what that is or what that means. U.S. faith-based institutions account for combined yearly revenue of more than $378 billion per year. That's a year, Ak. In 1 year, all the churches combined, Ak, make almost $500 billion. Almost $500 billion, right? Whoo-wee. Good night. Okay, this here is ridiculous, Sock. I'm about to read this thing here. This is crazy. Oh, my God. Christianity worship. Right, this is something everybody should know. Christianity is the world's wealthiest religion. Salakia. That shouldn't fool anybody. All right, let's see. It was one I just saw. Ah, man. Salakia. Is this the one I want? The title stand for. Ah, man, it had to be another article. Ah, man, this thing, I'm gonna look this thing up here. It was one I saw of how much of how much black churches make. Right? This is, of course, this is all churches, right? They make almost $500 billion a year. But it was one I had saw, brother, and it talked about the black Christian church and how the black Christian church is the goddamn, hey, shalom, brother, Yahweh Shem Yashukatah. You understand? If you're just joining us, this is the Tuesday Night Brotherhood class. I'm going over how Christians can't teach you how to love people, right? The church can't teach you how to love anybody. The Muslims can't teach you how to love anybody. Politicians and Democrats and Republicans, they can't teach you how to love anybody, right? But in the UPK, we can. So that's all I'm going over if you're just joining us. All right, and I'm going over the statistics of how much the church makes. I just read a mind-blowing statistic that says that out of all U.S. faith-based institutions, they account for a combined yearly revenue of more than $378 billion per year. I have to find the one. If somebody can find it, you can just look it up. How much out of that revenue for all churches, how much the black Christian church is, brother, it's something insane like $80 billion or $100 billion or something like that. It represents like 33% of the churches in America. The amount of black churches and how much they make. You can just look it up and research it. The number is insane. It drives me crazy, and this is the reason why. Not only because of the scripture I just read, where Christ said that no man can serve two masters, but also when you look outside of your house in the ghetto that you grew up in, the barrio, the projects you grew up in, and you see the struggle and the pain and the frustration and the absolute hell it means to be black and Hispanic. And then you read an article that says the black Christian church accounts for $100 billion a year. and you look at your environment, you look at your environment, and then you look at a statistic that says the Black Christian Church makes $100 billion a year, and then you look at your environment, you look at your mother and how she was on drugs, you look at your father and how he was in prison, you look at your sisters and how they are destroyed by having multiple babies' fathers, you look at black men and how they're destroyed by being on child support and by being ruined by the laws of our oppressor and the women in our block, in our community. You look at your reality, and then you see the reality of the Christian church, and you see just how little the Christian church, the Black Christian church, has done for black people. It drives you insane. At least it should. There shouldn't be any black or Hispanic that goes to the Christian church, that goes to church, that puts money in a tithe bucket and to a coffer. There should be no brothers and sisters who do that. After you research how much the Black Christian church has made since the 80s, oh my God, you will be sick. You'll be sick to your stomach when you look outside and you see crack and marijuana and fentanyl being sold on your corner, and then you see how much money the church have made from that fentanyl money, and it doesn't go back to your community. That money that they push in the cartels, it goes to Catholic churches and some Catholic priests down there in Mexico. In Sinaloa, where there's the cartel in Sinaloa, those Catholic churches are just coming up, They're getting paid. Those reverends, those archdioceses, those bishops are getting paid. Like the same thing that happening now in the black community. Yeah, what am I talking about? What happened? During the crack epidemic, those drug dealers, the crack dealers was paying those pastors and paying reverends and preachers, so much so that the Black Christian church has over $800 billion since the 80s. Salakia. You know where that money came from, right? I don't have to tell anybody. You know exactly where that money came from that the Black Christian church has. It came from drug dealers. That's what it came from. It came from the murderers on your block. They try to buy their way into heaven, so they sign a $10,000 check to your Christian preacher, right? Every sinner, every disgusting person who is just a horrible piece of garbage is going to pay his preacher a good amount of money so he can get his way into heaven, no matter how many drugs he sells you. And that's the reason why you have to get the hell out of the church. You have to separate yourself. Teach your children, don't go anywhere near a goddamn cross. Anywhere there you see a cross, it is bad. It is horrible. Don't go there. Because anywhere there's a cross, they're going to steal your money. They're going to abuse your children. They're going to molest your children. They're going to have sex with your wife. And the most disgusting thing out of everything is they're going to lie to you. They're going to lie to you. Lie to you about who God loves. Lie to you about what they're doing with the money. All the misuse of funds that every church could be charged with. So many politicians and black... Listen, this is another thing that always blows my mind as we was going over the Clarence Thomas thing. Black people think whenever there's a black person that gets in a significant seat of power, everything is going to change. It happened with Barack Obama. It happened with Thurgood Marshall. It happened with Clarence Thomas. It happens with your mayor. It happens with Marion Barry in D.C. It happened with Marion Barry. It happened with the sister up there in Chicago who just got fired from her job. It happened here in the past 6 years, 8 years, 10 years in Kansas City with Quentin Lucas, Emmanuel Cleaver, and Mayor Sly James. Black people think whenever someone that looks like them gets in office or in a high position of power, that things are going to change. That's what you think, don't you? You thought when Clarence Thomas was, maybe not so much black people thought this because we knew that he didn't like black people. But when that new girl, Contagia Brown, when she got in there, everybody thought things would change. You thought Kamala Harris would do something. You thought Barack Obama would change something. You believe you're gullible, right? We're just a gullible, naive people. We're sheep. We need someone to lead us. And you think just because someone looks like you, they're going to be a good leader. Just because someone looks like you, that doesn't mean they're going to be a good leader. You understand? Because someone looks like you doesn't mean that they're going to do well with the power they're given. You voted black mayors in office all over the United States of America. And everywhere there's a black mayor, black people are number one in murder. Baltimore has a black mayor. Baltimore is #1 in homicides. Kansas City has a black mayor. Kansas City is #1 in homicides. Chicago has a black mayor. Chicago is #1 in homicides, more than Iraq and Afghanistan. You say that we need more black people in positions of power. We get black people in positions of power. Clarence Thomas, Contagia Brown, and your daughters and sons still die every day like it is an epidemic of it. It is an epidemic of how many black and Hispanic people just die, and nobody even bats an eye. Nobody says anything about it. Nobody reports it. Nobody researches it. Nobody gives a damn. There's no probes. There's no nothing. Why? Because our lives just don't matter. Even when someone of high authority is black and looks like us. That doesn't matter. You know what you need? You need righteous men that rule over you. Just because somebody black is in a position of power, what in the hell does that mean? That doesn't make them moral. That doesn't make them moral. This is what the black people in positions of power, this is what they tried to do. No man can serve two masters. Black people that are in positions of power, they try their best to serve two masters. How do I know? Because I'm black. I'm black. And so I know what it means to be someone, you're a brother or a sister, and you become the mayor. You're going to have to look out for the best interests of the city you represent, your constituents, and to look out for black people's best interests. How could you do that? You can't. How in the hell is Quentin Lucas going to be beneficial to black people and be beneficial to Kansas City? Don't you understand that if Quentin Lucas was beneficial to Kansas City, he wouldn't be beneficial to black people? Because it is not in Kansas City's best interest for black people to rise, for black people to be benefited by. It is not in Kansas City's best interest for black people to own 18th and Vine. It's not in Kansas City's best interest for you to succeed. So what does that mean? You have to fail in order for Kansas City to be the greatest city in America. Black people in Harlem have to be on drugs in order for Harlem to be the greatest tourist city in America. Black people in DC and the Latinos in DC have to fail and be hooked on crack in order for Washington, D.C. to be America's city of greatness. Chicago can't have black people running Chicago and Chicago be a great city. That's not in Chicago's best interest. Don't you understand that everybody else, every other nation, every other race understands how they can't serve two masters? But your black leaders, they don't understand it. Because this is what's going to end up happening. Quentin Lucas is going to get in that office, and he's going to be so for black people. Mayor Sly James, Emmanuel Cleaver, he was, oh my God, he was, Barack Obama before he was Barack Obama. If you're not from Kansas City, you don't understand the affinity that black and Hispanic people had with Emmanuel Cleaver in Kansas City. It was insane. He marched with Dr. King, and he was this noble, amazing guy, and come to find out he's the same one that was in charge of the city and the mayor over the city when 18th and Vine, a historic black jazz and art district, was supposed to receive $250 million for the revamp and the renovations of 18th and Vine. They were supposed to revamp 18th and Vine for black people in the inner city at that time in 05, 06. When he was the mayor, he had a $250 million approved budget by the city. And lo and behold, one day the money just comes up missing. Oops. Old Mayor Sly James got the hell up out of there and went to D.C. to go and be a congressman in D.C. after that. Black people loved Emmanuel Cleaver. They loved Emmanuel Cleaver. And he stole allegedly stole $250 million from right under black people's nose in Kansas City. Because he cannot love you and love Kansas City. He's going to hold to the one and despise the other. Mayor Quentin Lucas is going to hold to Kansas City and despise the blacks and Hispanics in Kansas City. Don't you understand that? Don't you understand no matter how many black faces you put in the White House, they're never going to be benefits to you because they can't benefit you and benefit America. It is not in America's best interest, to benefit black and Hispanic people. It is in America's best interest. America couldn't run without you being the slaves in America, without you being the drug addicts in America, without you being the criminals in America. America couldn't run without them oppressing blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. Are you crazy? Nah. It's not in America's best interest to give you reparations. They're not going to give it to you because slavery was legal during the time of chattel slavery. We're never going to get reparations. You're never going to get a black president in office that's going to love black people. You're never going to vote for some black man like Raphael Warnock down in Georgia who's going to love the black people in Georgia. You're never going to get a mayor here in Kansas City, no matter if you vote in 3 black mayors in Kansas City. None of them are going to love black people. Black power. That's what the black people in their minds, that's what we think when we think about voting a black person in office. You think you're going to vote the most radical, black, pro-black, love black people, blackity black nigga you could find and get in there. It's never going to happen. There is nobody you are ever going to vote for in America and the United Kingdom, in Mexico and Puerto Rico that is ever going to be for your best interest. Why? Because it is not in the interest of the powers of that country for you to be on top, for you to rule. Do you think America could survive without black and Hispanic men being so highly incarcerated? Do you think that that's possible? Somebody answer that question. Do you think America could function without black men, Hispanic men, and Native Indian men filling the jail cells? Do you think that that's possible? Right, let me help you out. No, it's not possible. America couldn't function without all of the black and Hispanic men to fill the jail cells. It's not possible. So what does that mean? Stop trying to vote. Stop trying to vote. Stop trying to look for someone who is going to make a difference and you be the brother or be the sister that makes a difference. That's what you're supposed to do. That's brotherhood, Ak. That's brotherhood. Let me show you a scripture in the Bible. Let me go to John. Let's go to John chapter 3, all right? Let me show you a scripture in the Bible, Ak. What I said isn't tough talk. What I said just now wasn't absurd. It's not far-fetched. What I said is in the Bible, Ak. It's something that you are supposed to do. You understand? What are you looking for someone to vote for to change your conditions? Is that what you're doing, Ak? Are you looking for somebody to help black people? Is that what you're doing? Why don't you be the help to black people? Why don't you be the help to black people? Why don't you sacrifice the love that you have for America so that your people could be better off in America? Why don't you sacrifice your love for Mexico? Why don't you sacrifice your love for Puerto Rico so that the brothers and sisters in Puerto Rico, in Mexico, could live a better life? Why don't you sacrifice the love you have for the United Kingdom and that king and that queen over there so that the black people and the West Indians in United Kingdom could live a better life? Why don't you do that, Ak? Because that's what it's going to take. You don't believe me? Well, listen to what Christ said. This is John chapter 3, verse 1. There was a man of the Pharisees named Nicodemus, a ruler of the Jews. Everybody now knows the Jews are black, right? The Jews are black. They're not oppressors. They don't wear small hats. The Jews of the Bible are so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. This man Nicodemus, this black man Nicodemus, was speaking to another black man named Jesus Christ from the tribe of Judah. And this brother Nicodemus, he was a ruler of the Jews, a Pharisee. You understand? He was a so-called black religious leader like T.D. Jakes. Imagine Jesus Christ sitting down with Dr. King and having a conversation with him. That is what is going on right here. Verse 2, the same came to Yahushua by night and said unto him, Rabbi, we know that thou art a teacher come from the Most High, for no man can do these miracles that thou doest except the Most High be with him. Now I'm going to skip down to I'll read verse 3. Yahushua answered and said unto him, Verily, verily, I say unto thee, except a man be born again, he cannot see the kingdom of the Most High. Verse 4. Nicodemus saith unto him, How can a man be born when he is old? This here is beautiful. Like Yahweh, our King, he's breaking something so heavy down. So once again, speaking in parables like he often did, our King Christ is breaking the parable down to breaking a lesson, right? But he was speaking in parables. He's breaking a lesson down to Nicodemus, this ruler of black people. You understand? He told him, because Nicodemus said, surely thou art a teacher. He said, Rabbi, thou art a teacher. He said that come from the Lord. No man can do these miracles that thou doest except the Most High be with him. So what is Nicodemus really saying? How do I get the power you have? You understand? How do I get the power you have? See, this is the problem. We always look for a person to be put in a position of power. And just let that blow your mind for a second. You, instead of you achieving something in life to go get a position of power, you would rather get high from the comfort of your home with no education, no formal education, and you would rather vote somebody in that's smarter than you. Someone that is less moral than you, but because he has a degree of a bachelor's of political science, you're going to vote him in to be the mayor of your city? Like, think about that for a second. You're some brother or sister who is absolutely capable of achieving better things than Quentin Lucas. You're a man and woman that is absolutely capable of achieving better than Barack Obama. You're a brother and sister that is absolutely capable of achieving more than Mayor Lightfoot. You're more than capable of achieving more than Marion Barry. You're more than capable of achieving more than that old bald head damn mayor they had in New Orleans for all those years. You don't think you're more capable than them? You're more capable than them, and you're more of a moral person. You have a better code of conduct than they do. There's brothers that are locked up now that have committed crimes, that have sold drugs, and that have murdered people that wouldn't do the things that Quentin Lucas have done. They wouldn't have passed the laws that Quentin Lucas has passed. They wouldn't have done the horrible acts that Barack Obama has done. Barack Obama had passed rules and laws, it passed laws that made your that sister that you love so much who gets EBT and gets welfare. Barack Obama cut that by $800 billion, by $500 billion, so that your children can't eat. You understand? That's cruel, Locke. That's cruel. There are people that we voted for, like Bill Clinton, Joe Biden, Barack Obama, Bush, Al Gore, whoever you love and worship. Blacks and Hispanics vote religiously, and you vote for people who aren't as moral as you. You understand, Ak? You vote for people who aren't even as moral as you. They just simply went to school a little longer than you did. That's all. They had a little more perseverance than you. You're not better than you. Quentin Lucas is not better than the brothers down on Prospect. He's not. Quentin Lucas is not better than the brothers down on Wayne Minor Boulevard and 12th Street and the 20s. He's not better than you brothers, man. You think you listening? If you're listening to this class from the federal penitentiary in Leavenworth, if you're listening to this from the Missouri State Prison, if you're listening to this in some prison, in some jail, and you're a brother that's locked up, the mayor of your city is not better than you. The pastor of your church that your grandmother goes to, that pastor isn't better than you, Ak. So what, you murdered men? He's done far worse things than murder men. He's molested children. You would never molest a child. He has more blood on his hands than you. You brothers can be convicted of double life sentences for 5 murders. You haven't murdered as many men as your grandmother's pastor. You better believe that, Ak. You haven't sold more drugs or benefited from the selling of drugs than a pastor, Ak. I just read earlier how the Christian church have over $328 billion a year in revenue. Where do you think that money's coming from? Microsoft? Huh? You think Amazon is giving Christian churches $828 billion a year? Nah, that money's coming from drugs, Ak. Drugs. That money's coming from murderers and gangbangers. You think that you've done worse than your grandmother's pastor? You think you've done worse than Quentin Lucas? You haven't. You think you've done worse than Joe Biden? Ooh-wee. Ooh-wee. You haven't done worse than Hillary Clinton. You haven't done worse than Barack Obama. You didn't do worse than Bill Clinton. Nah, hell no. You brothers that's locked up, you are better men. You sisters that are locked up are better women than some cat that runs for office, than Mayor Lightfoot. Mayor Lightfoot lives an alternative lifestyle. She's some moral leader? Is that what she is? She's a moral leader? Nah. Here's the problem. The problem is, because we're Christian and the Christian church didn't teach us anything, we are stuck on getting high and stuck on, we don't have the discipline. This is the way I'll put it. I'll word it this way. We don't have the discipline because the church never gave us discipline to go pursue anything. You understand what I'm saying? That's the reason why brothers are locked up. That's the reason why sisters have to depend on EBT. There's some smart sisters out, smart as a whip, that could have been the next Mae Jemison. It could have been a pediatric neurosurgeon to develop a cure for the sudden infant death syndrome. There's sisters in the project stock that are on EBT, on SNAP, on welfare, that was bound to go to Harvard Medical School. Do you understand what I'm telling you, Ak? But she had to commit fraud because the Christian church, that's the reason why she committed fraud. The reason why so many brothers and sisters, they didn't go to school and achieve greater things in Quentin Lucas, is because the Christian church failed them. Because T.D. Jakes failed them. T.D. Jakes told black women, "Woman, thou art loose." He never told black women to go be the next Mae Jemison. T.D. Jakes is the reason why you're not the next Mae Jemison and why there's so few black doctors. So few black doctors. There was a study done, Salakia, just to go off for a second, to go off topic for a second. There was a study done by the American Medical Journal Association, I think that's it, the Medical Journal Association, that said that in urban inner city areas where black people predominantly frequent hospitals that have black doctors, 94% of the black patients will get healthy and will not suffer and die from whatever illness that they were suffering from. For example, say your black grandmother or a Hispanic Latino grandmother, your abuela, say they have Alzheimer's, leukemia, or something like that, cancer of the blood, or what is that thing called? Crohn's disease. Say they have Crohn's disease or leukemia. If they were to go to a hospital with black doctors, they have a 94% recovery rate, a 94% success rate. What is it called in cancer? Where is it remission? Where cancer comes back? Listen, they said that in hospitals where black people attend that have black doctors there, even if they're not even seen by that black doctor, you are more apt to be cared for. You are more likely to receive the better treatment at a hospital where people look like you. But here's the problem. There are only 6,000 black doctors in America out of 600,000 total doctors in America. You make up 1% of doctors, and you wonder why black women lead the damn nation and women that die at childbirth. They said women that die in childbirth in America is insane, and the number increases when you go by demographics. Black and Hispanic women, of course, no coincidence, black and Hispanic women die at an alarming rate in childbirth than any other race of women in America. And this is the country that leads the medical advancements, that leads money, forget about it. This is the richest country in the world. Yet and still, you have black and Hispanic women that die giving birth. Why do you think that is? Huh? Lack of health care? That's not the reason why. America has the best hospitals damn near in the world. When you go by country and the list, America's top 5. So it's not lack of health care. It's because there aren't people in the hospital that look like you. That's why. But how are you going to solve that problem if you're going to chase Instagram fame? If you're going to chase going to be a tennis player and a WNBA player, how do you solve the problem of so many black women dying in childbirth? You're never going to solve it. You know what you're going to do? You're going to vote somebody in office that can solve your problems. Why don't you just solve your problems? And so this conversation is that heavy. This is exactly what the conversation is about. That's why this is a scripture I always found so heavy, just being a young officer, because when you get it broken down by men in the ISU, a man of the Lord, a man of God in ISUBK, it's going to just blow your mind, Doc. You're going to say, wow, you mean to tell me that I could benefit my people? You mean to tell me that I don't have to vote someone in office? See, this is the problem. Nicodemus is a ruler of the Jews, meaning what? He's in a high political office, Doc. He's in a high office. He's like Clarence Thomas, Doc, in a position that he can make change. He can inflict change, enforce change on his people. But he's asking some poor brother named Jesus Christ, Yahweh Shah Mashiach in the Hebrew, he's asking him how to do it. How did you do it? Rabbi, teacher. We know thou art a teacher sent from the Most High, because no man does the things, the miracles you do. So let me read it like he said it. Except the Lord. He said, for no man can do these miracles that thou doest, except the Most High be with him. So Nicodemus recognizes the power that our King Christ has, and he wants that power. He wants that power. You see the alarming statistics of black and Hispanic women that die in childbirth, and what do? Go join the WNBA? What is that? You see so many black men. This always blows my mind, Doc, because you would think as many brothers that go be rappers, they would go be lawyers. As many brothers, we grow up with brothers, physical uncles, fathers, cousins that have done time in jail. You would think that brothers would grow up to be lawyers and judges. That's what you would think. You would think that brothers would say, damn, man, I grew up with no father because he was in prison. I grew up going to the prison to see my daddy. I grew up going with my mother to see my father behind that glass. I grew up with no uncles because they were all locked up in prison. I grew up with my oldest brothers going to jail and in jail now and doing life in prison now for murder. You would think that a brother would say, well, damn, man, this is what we need to do. All brothers should just get together who have family in prison and just learn the law and become lawyers. But you know what you do instead? You go be rappers and basketball players and NFL players. Well, God, I'll be damned, Doc. I'll be John Brown. What is that, Doc? Like, there's a need for you to do something in your community. And what do? I know. I'll go home, I'll sit back and smoke weed. You can blame the Christian church for that. Because the Christian church, they cannot serve two masters. And instead of serving the Most High God, instead of taking care of the people of God, instead of giving resources to the people of God, instead of giving jobs to the people of God, instead of giving housing to the people of God, instead of helping the people of God, you know what they do? They help America. What is that $800 billion? What is that $328 billion revenue from the Black Christian Church? Where does that go? Does it go back to Wayne Minor? Does it go to Harlem? Does it go on 125th Street? Does it go back to Cabrini Green? No, they shut all the projects in Chicago down. They shut all the projects in Kansas City down. Charlie Parker Square, Wayne Minor, Prospect has looked like that for 50 years, full of prostitutes and drug addicts with churches by Emmanuel Cleaver in Kansas City. And they make $328 billion a year, and Prospect looks like that for 50 years. The Christian church is the reason why. Instead of you going to solve the problem of your people, you sit back and get high, and you would rather vote Emmanuel Cleaver in to solve your problems. You would rather vote Clarence Thomas in and Contagia Brown in. And I know you don't vote those people in, but you would rather vote, you understand, Quentin Lucas in office to solve your problems. And Mayor Lightfoot, what in the hell are you doing? You would rather vote those people in when you're better than those people, that you have reached, you could do way more than those people, but you would never know it in the church. You would never find that out going to church. You would never learn brotherhood in the church. You would never be esteemed in the church. Those things don't take place. The church isn't going out on Prospect every Saturday and setting up camp so that you are esteemed and learn the truth about the Bible. Your church doesn't do that. You know what your church does? tell you to vote for somebody who is morally corrupt, someone who is less moral than you, who has little to no morality, who would make laws to benefit the oppressor and never make laws to benefit you. You would rather vote for them. The church would rather teach you to vote for them. That's what they would rather do, instead of giving you the things that you need to survive in this world. They would rather just give it to some donation, to some justice, to some judge, to some politician. You understand? Give it to make the T.D. Jakes fund bigger. I don't know. Give it to T.D. Jakes' daughter, who just got a divorce, so she can get a $15 million mansion in Calabasas. What I just said really happened. That's what the Christians would rather do. That's what the church would rather do. Not help the people on Prospect. Not help the people from where I'm from, on 24th in Michigan. That church was on that corner my whole entire life. And this is what blew my mind. I grew up in the 20s on 24th in Michigan in Kansas City. The old man, not Malak, right? Malak is from 1 West 125th Street. But that old man that we going into now with Jesus, with Christ and Nicodemus, that old man, before I was born again, but he grew up in the 20s on 24th in Michigan. Literally 2 seconds away from my house, there was a church that sat on that corner. And the preacher lived across the street from the church. Brother, I kid you not, there was more dope being sold in my neighborhood than a little bit. I remember walking home from school, from that school that was on the corner, Wendell Phillips. I remember walking home from school with one of my best friends in the world. And we saw and found a whole brick of weed on the corner. Like somebody just, imagine a neighborhood where there's so much dope being sold in the neighborhood that a drug dealer loses a brick of weed. I don't even know how much those go for, especially not in those days. Imagine a dope dealer loses a brick of weed and just forgets about it. That's how much dope he's selling. Now you go to the 20s now, it still looks the same. That's what blows my mind. And guess what's even crazier? That church is still there on the corner of 24th and Michigan. Brother, you better get the hell out the Christian church. Salakia. You better get the hell, run fast out of the Christian church. You better leave the church like it is on fire to save your life. Or else you're going to spend the rest of your days getting high, voting for someone who is worse than you, as you get high and never reach your full potential. Never reach your full potential. Instead, you would just get high and vote for someone who you're better than. You can do a better job than Quentin Lucas. Are you crazy? You in prison can do a better job than Mayor Quentin Lucas. You can do a better job than Barack Obama. Yes, you. But you have to put the blunt down first. You have to put the whores down first. And you have to learn to love your people first. Let's keep going, Doc. For time's sake, let's keep going. All right. Nicodemus saith unto him, how can a man be born when he is old? Can he enter the second time into his mother's womb and be born? Verse 5, Yahushua answered, verily, verily, I say unto thee, except a man be born of water and of the Spirit, he cannot enter into the kingdom of the Most High. Verse 6, that which is born of the flesh is flesh, and that which is born of the Spirit is spirit. Okay, now. Verse 9, this is amazing here. Nicodemus answered and said unto him, how can these things be? Verse 10, Yahushua answered and said unto him, art thou a master of Israel, and knowest not these things? Meaning, how in the hell are you a mayor of Kansas? How are you in charge of black people? Somebody explain that to me. How is Jamal Bryant down in Atlanta, Georgia, how is he in charge of black people? He has no formal education. Jamal Bryant is not a nuclear engineer. He's not a damn, he didn't go to school for law. He didn't go to law school and spend 7 years. He didn't do his 4-year undergrad and then 3 years in law school to be over. What is he over? How is he in charge of black people, How is it possible? These pastors and these mayors, they are not smarter than you. Do you understand that? They're not smarter than you. They're not better than you. And here's another thing. Black people that are in positions of power do the same thing you do. Here you are getting high, and you're saying to your buddies, oh man, you know I couldn't be no damn mayor. I'll be in there with hoes and getting high. He's in there with hoes and getting high. Are you out of? He's in there with hoes, Doc. What do you think? Mayor Quentin Lucas never touched a blunt since he took the oath to become the mayor of Kansas City. Come on, Doc. Marion Barry was smoking crack as the mayor of D.C. with hoes. There was a brother down in Florida just 3 years ago when he was running for president trying to beat out Joe Biden in the Democratic primaries. He was a ballhead. Can I forget his name, Doc? He had a wife and a daughter and son at home. They found him passed out in some hotel in Florida full of cocaine and fentanyl with transgender prostitutes. Do you think that you're worse than these cats that you vote for? These black people who rule over black people, these black leaders like Dr. King, oh my God, I should have brought that book in. I have an amazing book. Somebody, if you ever want it, just ask me for it. It is a book written by Dr. Michael Eric Dyson. It's called I May Not Get There With You. Brother, I've had this book for 17 years. That's how long I've had this book out. I've had this book for 17 years. And it always blows my mind. I've read it about 6 times, Doc. 6 times. And it always blows my mind. Every time I get to this, I think it's chapter 6 in the book. Chapter 6, and I May Not Get There With You, is about the sexual deviances of Dr. King. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was such a sexual deviant that his brother and his goddamn best friend, Reverend Ralph Abernathy, wrote it in a book. And it gets so explicit in this book that I have by Dr. Michael Eric Dyson. Like, it is amazing. If you're in the truth, you better, I ain't gonna say you better read the book. It's a good read, Doc. It is a great read, and it shows because the brother, Michael Eric Dyson, of course, he's a Christian, and he looks up to Dr. King, and the point he was making was, I can't exclude this part of the book, because if I exclude if I exclude Dr. King's shortcomings, then he would be less of a leader. Somehow it makes sense in a Christian's mind for your leaders not to be moral. Michael Eric Dyson was pretty much saying, because Dr. King is not a perfect man, that makes him even better of a leader. It is a great book, Doc. He wrote explicitly the conversations that was said in the book. Remind me, Doc, tomorrow night when I teach the law class, I am going to bring this book because it is amazing, Doc. And it shows the sexual deviances of Martin Luther King Jr. Now, YouTube, 17 years ago, I don't even know if YouTube was around, but I didn't have it. I had books, and I read books, and my daddy bought me books. And one of the books my father bought me from the bookstore down there on Westport, I'll never forget it, was I May Not Get There With You by Michael Eric Dyson, The True Life of Dr. King. It is an amazing book. I've had this book for 17 years. 17 years. I'm going to bring it tomorrow. And it shows a lot of all of the sexual deviances. And it shows an expletive the conversations he would have with men and women. He told some brother to suck my you-know-what. And it was crazy because in the FBI's transcript, it said that Dr. King jokingly, he had sexual jokes with men and women. Dr. King was just a sexual deviant all around, Doc. It's in the book I have. It's written by a famous black scholar who idolizes Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. His name is Michael Eric Dyson. I'm going to bring it tomorrow. Nonetheless, like I said that to say this, Dr. King, you think that he was so moral and such a good leader. Dr. King, brother, had sex with more whores than you. You think you couldn't be Dr. King because you get high and have sex with whores? Guess who else got high and had sex with whores? Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. did. What do you think? You think that these guys are better than you? They're not. They're not. The problem that you suffer from is Christianity. The problem they suffer from is lack of brotherhood. That's all. They didn't have brotherhood, or else they would have never done the things they did. Dr. King would have never had sex with all of those whores if he loved black people. Malcolm X would have never joined you to another nation's God if he loved black people. He would have joined you to the God of black people, right? Quentin Lucas would have never allowed that boy to be shot in the head and the arm if he loved the people that he was representing. But lo and behold, Doc, they're not moral. That's what I'm trying to teach you. Is they're not moral, and you're more moral than them. You have more morals than them, Doc. You have a better code of conduct than they do. I know you sit at home and get high. I know you have sex with whores from time to time. I know you're a sexual deviant too. And that none of that you done compares to Dr. King or Quentin Lucas or Marion Barry or the cats that you vote for president. None of it even compares to the things you do. You are better than them, and you should reach your full potential. But this is what you have to remember. This is what Christ said to Nicodemus. Verily, verily, I say unto thee, we speak that we do not know. And Salaki, let me go back up. Verily, verily, this is verse 5. John chapter 3, verse 5. Yahushua answered, verily, verily, I say unto thee, except a man be born of water and of the Spirit, he cannot enter into the kingdom of heaven. That which is born of the flesh is flesh, and that which is born of the Spirit is spirit. Brother, you have to be born of the Spirit. You just have to be that flesh is full of marijuana and 420 and Thanksgiving and Christmas. You were born of your mother, and the flesh that was born of your mother is tainted. You're just you're the next Quentin Lucas. You're the next Dr. King if you don't stop. So what does that mean? What do you have to do? You have to now be born of the Spirit. You have to be a new creature. How do you do that? By joining the Israelite School of UPK. That's how you do it. And learning just like a baby, right? You learn how to get high. How did you learn how to get high? By watching somebody get high. Watching. This is something that's just crazy too. We're taught how to sin in our own houses. You don't have to go to school. You don't have to go to a party. You don't have to go to some crazy occult. Just grow up in your mother's and father's house, in your grandma's house. You're going to learn how to sin by just growing up how you grew up in the house. You don't even have to leave the house. You didn't have to leave, jump off the porch at 17. If you stayed at your mama's house, you still would have been a disgusting sinner. You still would have had lack of brotherhood. You still wouldn't have loved black people. Why? Why is that? Because we were taught how to sin in our parents' house. That's how young it started. We watched our parents cheech and what do they call it? Tote. We watched our parents hit the bong and smoke blunts and shoot up heroin in their veins. We watched those things. We watched our father bring random women over, whores over, and have sex with them. We watched our mother have sex with random men. Just in our homes that we grew up in, we learned how to sin. So when we became their age, guess what we did? We got high like them. We talked like them. We disrespected black people the way they disrespected black people. We had an evil eye toward our brother the way they had an evil eye toward their brother. We did everything our parents did. That's how you became a sinner. So what is Christ telling Nicodemus? That which is born of the flesh is flesh, and that which is born of the Spirit is spirit. Brother, you have to be born of the Spirit. You got to be born again. And then Nicodemus, he, of course, being a leader of black people, he doesn't even know what Christ is talking about. He said, what, can a man go into his mother's womb again? He's physically thinking about, after he just heard Christ say, a man, what is born of the flesh is flesh, and that which is born of the Spirit is spirit. Nicodemus is still, he still doesn't understand. He said, what does a man have to get put back in his mother's womb? He's thinking you're going to go through the birth canal again. Because he is ignorant. Nicodemus was ignorant, just like all of your black leaders and reverends and pastors. They're all ignorant of the Bible. They're all ignorant. They're not smart. Jamal Bryant is not smart, T.D. Jakes is not smart. Steve Harvey is not smart. Tyler Perry is not smart. You're smarter than them, You are. You're smarter than them. You're better than them. You have more morals than them. You sitting in Leavenworth. You sitting on the couch smoking weed. You're better than your leader, than your mayor, than your reverend, than your pastor. You're better than them. But you have to be born of the Spirit. You have to be born of the Spirit. You have to become a new creature. You have to be something that has never been. Right? You get high. You committed fraud. You had sex with whores. You have to be something new that has never known those things. You have to be born of the Spirit. You have to come in this school, get in here, sit in class, close your mouth, and open your ears and get checked and get chastised and get rebuked and get loved and get loved and get checked and get checked and get checked, and then you'll become a new creature. Baptized with fire. You're going to come in here and ask every question, and you're going to learn, and you're going to have a notebook called a precept book, whether you become an officer or not, and you're going to learn how to be a new person. You're going to learn how to talk the way we talk. You're going to learn a new language, right? A new way of talking. The way that your parents taught you how to talk. Your parents taught you how to, what, the plumber is black? Here come this nigga. Who fixing your car? Niggas fixing my car. Oh, that's why it's broke, because a nigga fixed it. That's why I can't even go up the block, because a nigga fixed my car. That's the reason why the roof is horrible, because of those Mexicans. Who's taking the job? Mexicans. The Mexicans taking all the jobs. Your parents absolutely hated other black people. They hated Latinos. They hated North American Indians, who are their brothers, who are our people. We're one body of people. Your parents taught you how to hate your brother because your parents were Christian. Your parents was Christian. So what do you have to do now? You're going to come in here and learn how to love black people, how to have brotherhood. You're going to sit down and you're going to learn how not to doubt your brother, how to give your brother the benefit of the doubt. What do you think? A brother stole money from you? How come that white woman that you have sex with, how come you never question if she stole anything? Why come you never question rich white men who are the biggest thieves on earth? How come they didn't steal from you? You left that phone out that job. Your boss could have stole the money. That white boss of yours, that East Indian boss, he more than likely stole that phone. Oh, he don't need to steal no phones. He got $1 million. The white man is the devil the Bible speaks of. He is the thief of the earth, the liar of the earth, brother. He is made to be a thief. He stole the phone, not a brother. A brother don't steal, man. Brothers don't lie and cheat and murder the way the white man does, the way heathens do, the way the Ukrainians and Russians are doing right now. Why not give your brother the benefit of the doubt? Why not love your brother? Instead of saying, man, we ain't never gonna come together. We black people can never come together. We always gonna be arguing. We always gonna be fighting. We always gonna be, I can't move to Chicago. Chicago, too many, all we do up there is murder each other. I'm so sick of black people murdering each other. I'm so sick of it. I hate the fact that we always on the news. It's black people that's embarrassments to our race. We always doing into something. We always doing something. Brother, you're going to shut the hell up when you come in here. You're not going to speak negatively of black people. You're not going to do it. Instead, you're going to learn that the white man is the devil. And while you're so busy complaining about all of this black on black crime and all of these brothers with their pants sagging like that sodomite that just got fired from CNN did, Don Lemon, you're not going to complain about brothers pants sagging. You're going to complain why the Christian church made brothers to sag their pants. You're going to blame the Christian church for why every foul thing in the black community that exists, you're going to blame the Christian church for it. You're going to come in here and learn, instead of blaming ourselves for our destruction, instead of blaming ourselves for our death, instead of blaming ourselves for the high incarceration rate, we're going to put the blame on where the blame belongs, and that's the black Christian church. You're going to learn to do that in here, Ak. You're going to learn how to articulate that. You're going to learn it in the Bible. We're going to pull the precepts of why the church is to blame, why the Christian pastors and the black deacons and the black politicians, why they are to blame for every foul thing in the black and Latino community. What do you think? The cartels are so bad? Brother, Mexicans are Catholic. Do you know what Catholics did? Catholics, what they're doing, what am I talking about what Catholics did? Do you know what the Catholics are doing and what they have done? Do you think the cartels have murdered more people, unalived more people than the Catholic Church? Than the Spanish conquistadors? Do you think that the cartels are bigger drug dealers than the Catholic Church? Do you think there are more thugs in the cartel than the Catholic Church? Because you would be sadly mistaken. Mexicans are in the cartels because they're Catholic. Brothers sell drugs because we're Christian. Brothers commit crimes because we're Christian. You understand? You're going to learn how to, instead of blaming your own people, you're going to learn to love your people. And you're going to learn to put the blame where the blame belongs, and that's the black Christian church. That's what you're going to learn how to do. Precept because you cannot serve two masters, or else you will hold to the one and despise the other. You're going to learn how to serve only one master. You're going to learn how to only love one people, one God. That's what you're going to learn how to do in here. That's how you become a new creature, Ak. You become a new creature by not doing any of the things you did in the world. That's why I had to catch myself and say, I wasn't raised on 24th and Michigan. The old man was raised on 24th and Michigan. Because every brother and sister in here is from 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. That's where we're from. We're not from Kansas City. We're not from St. Louis or Chicago. We're all from Harlem, New York. You understand? 1 West 125th Street under Commandant General Yohana. We're not from those drug-infested neighborhoods. That's not where we're from, man. We don't talk the way we did in the world. We don't commit crimes like we did in the world. We don't have sex with whores like we did in the world. We do everything based off of the truth, based on the Bible. We're new people. We're new creatures. That's love, Ak. That's brotherhood. Now, if the Christian church would have taught this and would have taught black people how to have morality, how to have code of conduct, how to be new creatures the way Christ taught Nicodemus, the way Christ taught us to do it, then you wouldn't have crack corners in the first place. You wouldn't have to vote for a black person to be who you think is better than you to change everything about your reality. You wouldn't have to vote Barack Obama for change because things would have already been done. You wouldn't have to vote Mayor Quentin Lucas in Kansas City mayor as a Kansas City mayor to change Kansas City. Those things would have already been changed had the Christian church taught black people how to learn the Bible. If the Christian church would have told black people how to obey the Bible, how to obey the Most High God of the Bible, how to do the things that Christ taught, brother, there would be no need for us to teach it now. You have to wait every 4 years to vote a new Lord in charge because you believe that that new Lord is better than you, has more morals than you, and is going to change your reality. And every day, every 4 years for 60 years, we have been sadly mistaken. We have been sadly misled, and that day is over. It's time that you be the brother and the sister that changes your reality. You be the one that goes back to the ghetto and changes your reality. You be the sister that goes back to the ghetto and show black women that we can be more than Instagram hoes. We can be Mae Jemisons, Zach. We can be sisters that just go to college and be pediatric neurosurgeons to develop a cure for sudden infant death syndrome. We could solve our own problems. We just can't vote the people that we think can solve them in. That's all. That's all. We can't vote someone to solve our problems. We can't vote someone in to solve our problems. We have to change in order for our problems to be solved. You understand? Solved, Salakia. And old man, Salakia, I'm up here mispronouncing words like I'm back on the back, like I'm back. You understand? That old man trying to creep up out of me. I'm sitting there teaching how to change that old man. That old man slowly out. It's trying to creep up out of me, brother. It's trying to creep up out of me. But thank the Lord for the Isupk. I don't have to talk like I'm from the streets anymore. I can talk like I read the Bible, that I have some intelligence. I can deal with brothers and sisters as if they're my brothers and my sisters. I don't have to demean and degrade brothers and sisters. I could esteem black people now like I couldn't do when I was in the world. You know why? Because of the Bible. Because of the Isupk under Commandant General Yohana. That's why. You understand? Now I'm going to go ahead and close it out. Salakia. Oh, this thing here, boy. I'm sitting here mispronouncing words, man. Salakia. That old man, look, Satan said, this nigga talking about the old man. I'm going to bring that old man up out of him. No, Satan, you won't. You won't bring the old man up out of me. I'm officer of 5,000 Malak under Commandant General Yohana. I don't know nothing about 24th and Michigan. I don't know anything about 12th Street and Wayne and Minor. I don't know anything about any of that garbage. I don't know anything about Jeffin. You got to talk to Elias Shah about Jeffin. He knows what Jeffin means. He knows what Fetty is. So like he knows that garbage. I don't know none of that Kansas City slang no more. I'm not from Kansas City. I'm from 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under commanding General Yohana. And with that, I imagine just me. All right. Oh, no, cancel. All right, here we go. Salakia. It's loading. I'm reading the security announcements, all right? All right, here we go. ISUPK security announcements. We are the ISUPK, start out at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. We are all under command of General Yohana. Rule for new brother and sister. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this 6-month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. Numbers chapter 18, verse 21. Malachi chapter 3, verse 8 through 10 means tenth in the Hebrew, ma'ashra. 10% of every penny of any increase the Most High gives you, give to the Treasury Department or teacher. Priest fund, free will offering for priest, not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like. Upcoming holy convocations. Salaki, we're currently in the Feast of First Fruits right now. All right? Remind Akim and Akwak to check the bulletin board in the hallway. If anyone wants to be a trooper in the school, start wearing all black. Boots, shirts, pants, headband, or war scarf. With that, I imagine, which means to stand. Men of Israel, we're going to give one courtesy salute to the brothers. Men of Israel, Imagine Shabbat, Imadium, Barak, Yahabah Shemiah Shepakathum, Yajimatah, Sar, face the sisters. Men of Israel, we're going to give one courtesy salute to the sisters. Men of Israel, Imadium Shabbat, Imadium, Barak, Yahweh Shemar Alathan, Bahashim Yahweh Shah, Yajimatah, dismissed.